Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints, a weekly little get-together. We talk about the past week in gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown. Joining me today is...
David Smith.
Tonight, we have some Call of Duty 2 rumors and confirmations that we're going to discuss. We've got some HOTS changes coming up, possibility of a Super Nintendo Classic, and all that good stuff coming out. But first, before we get into any of that, David, what have you been up to this past weekend?
Playing board games, actually, a lot.
Anything good?
A lot of board games. Just regular games we've played before. Been playing Sentinels, card game, deck building hero game. I guess it's not really a deck builder, you just play as heroes.
Fair enough.
I got people to play Ticket to Ride, people to play, just whatever.
Good.
I'm basically sitting here waiting for the Dark Souls board game. That's what's actually happening.
Fair enough.
Just anxiously waiting for my copy.
I did nothing but play about 30 hours of Persona 5 over 2 days.
That'll do.
So that was my weekend. If you are joining us live, this is GamePoints episode 86. We do stream every Monday night at 8 p.m. here at Twitch TV/GamePoints. If you are watching us live, please feel free to join the chat, comment, follow, like, and all that good stuff. We do try to include you in the conversation when we can. If you happen to be watching us on YouTube, same deal. Like, subscribe, comment, and all that good stuff. And I do try to respond whenever I can and get around to it. Let's go ahead and kick things off right away with the news of the week. I'm kind of wanting to get the show over with somewhat fast. I do have a lot of fires on the irons in the fire, I should say, as I mix my metaphors. And
nope, you got fires in your iron. It's a way more serious matter.
The point is, we're going to go through this kind of quick today, and we're going to start off with, like I already mentioned, the Call of Duty leaks now confirmed by the time this show's out of that they're going back to World War II.
Hey, looking for money.
Yeah. Infinite Warfare, as we all know, did not sell nearly as well as they hoped. It was still the best-selling...
People don't like the future or space.
Yeah. It was still the best-selling game that year. Make no mistake about that. It's still fucking Call of Duty. But it sells paled in comparison to Black Ops 3. It was clearly off a downtrend, got a lot of shit. And Battlefield 1 was extremely successful. So clearly the right move was to go back to World War II. And I'm pretty sure we're ready for another World War II first-person shooter. That seems good to me, right?
No, that's stupid. They should go back farther.
Civil War?
Yeah.
You know, a Civil War could be interesting. This is a good idea. It'll be a lot more charging. Yeah, this is a good idea. I think I have one big concern is how late in development were they when they decided to go back to World War I, or was this the plan 2 or 3 years ago? Keep in mind, Call of Duty is on a 3-year development cycle. Now, I know they release a Call of Duty every year, and it might seem a little bit confusing, but they have three teams. Yeah, they got 3 teams working on it. Infinity Ward, who did the most recent one, Treyarch, who does all the Black Ops games, and Sledgehammer. And Sledgehammer is the one doing this game right here, set in World War II. Rumor is it's supposed to be during the D-Day assault, but we don't know if it's only going to be D-Day or not. It would be a change from the other World War II games they've done where it kind of bounced around across the world. What do you feel about that, David?
I think you're literally going to storm the beach, and then everything from there out is going to be DLC.
Possibly. You could expect not single-player DLC.
I think this story actually doesn't matter, and that everybody that buys this game is buying this specifically to play multiplayer.
And that is what Call of Duty is for. Now, the following information comes from Reddit, a website called FPS Point, and actual, honestly, got official sources. But they do have a stream coming to, not tomorrow, a couple days from now, April 26th at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. But some stuff has leaked already because people take pictures and GameStop employees can't keep their mouth shut. First off, let me show you this picture right here of a full-on marketing billboard that says Call of Duty World War II, November 3rd. Not officially announced yet, but this giant fucking street mural probably went up earlier than it should have, revealing the release date for November 3rd. Makes sense. Call of Duty titles traditionally release in November. We also have right here just some promotional artwork for it. It's clearly the landing at D-Day with the tank traps and the beach and people striding up on it. And then we also have a bit of marketing, possibly from a GameStop employee. It's one of the boxes that they're supposed to fold up and put down, and it does say that there will be a private beta available for people who pre-order. However, to that we say, don't do that. David, is it time to go back to World War II?
Honestly, after playing Battlefield 1 and how awesome they made World War 1, and I know that there's whole issues. People don't like glorifying World War 1. But fuck, we've been glorifying war for a really long time in video games, so let's just keep on keeping on. I think the World War II game now with current gen tech could actually be really cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. The last World War II game that we saw, I want to say, was in 2008. As far as like a mainstream big one, there's been a couple other ones. Manly Monk, welcome to the chat. Appreciate you dropping in and saying hi. No, I have never heard of them, sadly. I think this is a good time to do a big budget World War II game. The last one, like I said, last one we saw was 2008. Sorry, I got distracted talking to chat there. It would be amazing to see the set pieces and scale and scope of what they can do with it now. Because keep in mind, while Call of Duty started in World War II, that really didn't take off until Modern Warfare when they left that setting behind.
Yeah, that's totally fair. They got big after. Well, I don't know. All the Call of Duty games have done well, really.
Yeah, I'm not, by no means am I saying that like the original World War II Call of Duties didn't sell, but they just weren't the massive beasts that they were until after they stepped out of the World War II shooter.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I get you.
Do you see what I'm saying?
They got big after that happened.
Yeah, so now they have a lot more resources and energy and, honestly, brand recognition they can throw at it than they did before. Once again, not to say that people never heard of the original Call of Duties or anything like that. It's just that they are bigger now than they were before. So it's going to be interesting to see what they can create, because when it comes to single-player campaigns, I will still say that Call of Duty is a step above normally was. I even liked Infinite Warfare, despite some of the shit that got. Multiplayer, yeah, that's a whole nother bag, personally. But when it comes to just the campaigns, I've always enjoyed the Call of Duty. So I'm very excited to see what they have coming up here. Do you have any interest in Call of Duty 11 at all? Or World War 11 at all?
World War 11?
Yeah. Well, that's what it is, right? World War II. That's 11.
It depends. It's seriously with Call of Duty games and with a lot of shooters in general, it depends on how many people that I know get into the game. I'm not going to buy this game if no one else does. And I think that's how a lot of Call of Duty players are, honestly. A lot of people play this game with friends, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people just fucking pick this game up, I'm sure. But for me, with shooters, especially online multiplayer, I like having a group that I know that we can go and stomp house with. So
fair enough.
Just depends.
Then this probably isn't going to be for you. Like I said, I will play it through the campaign, but I won't touch multiplayer. I think the Call of Duty formula is kind of stale at this point. I'd rather play something like Battlefield or even Battlefront when that comes out. But the Twitch shooter, first-person shooter, is kind of not in my wheelhouse anymore.
So you don't want to get the Quake Champions?
No, probably not.
All right,
let us know what you think about the upcoming Call of Duty 2 in the comments or chat below. Next topic. Heroes of the Storm has a massive patch coming up. They're actually calling it a 2.0 update, and it should be coming out tomorrow.
Yeah, no, this is awesome. So this is actually a pretty big deal. HOTS is getting, well, Heroes of the Storm, rather, is getting kind of overhauled into becoming a lot more like Overwatch as far as how they're going to present loot. Actually, we're going to get loot boxes. They're changing the way hero levels work. So right now you can actually play until you get to level 40 and then you're done. That's all you get. And then each character has its own separate level. They're doing away with that idea entirely. And each character that you have, their combined levels is your player level, basically. And you know, at every level break or however many levels you have to go through, you'll get loot boxes. There's going to be new skins. They're adding tags, as in like sprays you can put on the ground. They're adding voice lines. They're adding mastery emotes because they've noticed that no one buys master skins. So instead of doing that, you can just get an emote when you get to a mastery level on a character. It looks pretty big. You can now buy items with gems, which is a new currency that replaces real money. You can buy gems with real money, or you can get them. I think you can just unlock them throughout the course of the game, similar to the way Overwatch works.
I mean, there's a lot of Overwatch crossover here with loot boxes for leveling up. The progression system has kind of been turned into Overwatch's progression system. I like it. I feel that what they had going on with the way you bot characters in HOTS was kind of stale before. It didn't really feel like you were getting anything by playing games. This way, it it does the Overwatch thing, where even playing a couple games will probably get you a loot box full of, more than likely, garbage you don't want, but at least it's something. At least you feel like you're getting something for playing. I think it's a good thing. I think it's a sign of Blizzard slowly combining all their games into one massive game. I can guarantee you the gems that you can buy for HOTS will be the same cryptocurrency that can be spent across all their games, including WoW and Overwatch, and I get the feeling that is going to be their eventual goal, to where you can earn games in HOTS and spend it in Overwatch, for example.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing that I think is actually really funny, because I was reading an article earlier that the type of loot drop system that we're getting from a lot of games, I mean, Heroes of the Storm is a free game, obviously, but Overwatch, for example, is not. And the loot system they're implementing is very much a gambling system, which is the single most like addictive gaming system you can have. And I think it's really funny.
Yeah, and that's what this is getting.
It's literally just get you hooked on it. You're just going to keep playing until you get another loot box. The big thing for me to worry about is I'm almost positive they're going to do it, but I'm assuming they're going to have different skins or items that are going to be locked behind a loot box random level, and not a thing you can just buy outright.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Just because of Overwatch stuff, for example, where I'm pretty sure there's been skins that you couldn't buy, you had to earn.
Right. I don't know.
And if that same exact system hits HOTS, it will leave a sour taste in my mouth, because I like the ability that if I really want something and the game company is offering it to me for cash, I might buy it. If you're going to lock it behind some arbitrary loot box system, a la the way Smite does it, then maybe I won't.
Maybe. We'll have to see. We'll have more details when they do their live stream on tomorrow, April 25th at 11 p.m. Funny enough, we were talking about Call of Duty previously. That is a game franchise that you can owe a lot of this to. Because as far as I recall, they started the whole multiplayer progression system where they had that level up bar, and every time you hit something, in the case of Call of Duty, you get like a new tag or a new name or title.
Or guns.
Yeah.
You actually unlock kits in Call of Duty.
As far as I can remember, Modern Warfare, the first one, was the first game that did something like that. So we're just the cyclicalness of these titles, how one franchise will feed off of another, which in turn will rip things off back into it. Like the best example that I can think of is the Tomb Raider Uncharted, where Uncharted was very clearly inspired by Tomb Raider, and now the Tomb Raider reboots are very, very clearly inspired by Uncharted. So,
which is pretty great.
Yeah, I just find that fascinating that they feed into each other. Anyways, while we're on the topic of Blizzard, let's go ahead and get to the next bit of news, and that is that the original StarCraft is now free, including the Broodwar expansion.
Oh, yeah.
So, StarCraft... Go ahead.
Well, the big thing is we were talking about the remastered version of StarCraft that's coming out. I think it's like the 4K patch. This ain't that.
No. This is the original game. It is not remastered. Remastered is still slated as coming in the summer, and honestly, I think they're going to charge for it. No word on how much if they do. But as you can see on the website that I have right here, StarCraft patch 1.18 notes, which is something I never thought I would see for StarCraft anymore, were patch notes. Whole bunch of quality of life changes, but the big thing toward the end here... Not toward the end, up front. StarCraft Broodwar are now free. Follow the links here to begin installing. Just go to Battle.net. It'll be on there if you want to take a look at it. Cool. Awesome. StarCraft and StarCraft Broodwar were seminal RTS games. I highly recommend taking a look at them if you've never played them. They still play very fun today, despite the fact that you can only group 12 units at a time. But they are...
StarCraft still gets competitive play.
Yeah, they're historic. There are those games that every PC gamer should play at least once to have an idea of what it's like. So yeah, go get the OG StarCraft free for now. David, while we're talking about some classic shit, there's been a rumor going around of an SNES Classic.
Fuck Nintendo.
Fair enough.
So the problem with this is, and I'm just gonna jump into it because I've been slamming Nintendo for weeks now because they keep making decisions that make me mad. And this actually finally puts some stuff into logical sense. Why the fuck would they keep an NES Classic when they could then get rid of it, make everybody go fucking nuts, and then start leaking rumors of a Super Nintendo Classic that they're going to release probably sometime before November, October, somewhere in there. There's not going to be enough of them. They're immediately going to go on eBay. They're going to sell for $300-$400. Everyone's going to go fucking nuts. By January, no one will know how to get one. They're literally doing the same fucking thing again. The problem is, this time I want one.
Fair enough. This story,
the Super Nintendo was the better console.
yeah, it was. This story comes via Eurogamer. Quote, Nintendo will follow up its smash hit NES microconsole with a mini version of the SNES. Sources close to the company have confirmed to Eurogamer. The SNES Mini, or to continue Nintendo's official branding, likely the Nintendo Classic Mini Super Nintendo Entertainment System, is currently scheduled to launch in time for Christmas this year. Development device is already underway, or sources have indicated. Nintendo plans for the SNES Mini are also a major reason as to why last year's NES Mini did not see a reprieve from discontinuation, Eurogamer understands. Two things to take away. One, technically total rumor right now. These are just inside sources. We don't have any official confirmation from Nintendo.
It makes too much sense for that not to be true, though.
Yeah. Two, something that I feel is kind of buried in the story there. They're saying that the sources are claiming this is the reason why the NES was discontinued. And that makes sense, because you would need those manufacturing resources to make SNES Minis. You want to clear the slate clean for that debut in Christmas time this year.
No, they
you
need
don't
a
want them
hype train.
competing against each other.
You can't have a SNES Classic running against a NES Classic. That doesn't work.
Yeah. So, I mean, I would say this is all but done. I 100% believe this is going to come out. If it's going to be 30 or 10 or 15 games, that we don't know, but I'd be very curious to see what their lineup is going to be. If you have any specific games you would like to see on the Super Nintendo Classic, stay tuned to the show, because our topic of the week is going to deal just with that.
Cool. Yeah, I'm excited. It's going to have an HDMI port. It's going to work on my TV. It's going to look a lot better than my current Super Nintendo does.
Yeah, you would hope.
It's just, damn it, Nintendo.
Yeah, they're going to fuck something up. Either they're going to keep those 1 foot long controllers.
Yep.
Or they're going to make half as many. Something that, like, it's one
or
step.
It's gonna have mono sound or some fucking thing.
Yeah,
something's
it's
gonna be wrong.
Always one step forward, 2 steps back with this company, and that's fucking tragic, because I really want them to succeed.
Yep.
Anyways, more news this week. Ubisoft.
Other companies doing well.
Other companies doing stuff. Ubisoft is expanding. Now, Ubisoft has been surrounded by rumors of hostile takeovers, and they've had some problems over the past few months. I don't think Ghost Recon Wildlands sold as much as they would hope, because it came out in a really crowded year. That poor son of a bitch died during the production of Steep. South Park Stick of Truth Fractured Butthole has been delayed until God fucking knows when. But apparently they're doing well enough to expand, according to the Ubi blog right here. Ubisoft is strengthening its creative forces in Europe with the announcement of 2 development studios opening in Bordeaux, France, and Berlin, Germany late this year. These studios will be working on the following. Bordeaux will collaborate on games whose development is led by French studios, which include franchises like Just Dance, Steep, and Ghost Recon Wildlands. This honestly sounds like a support team to me, kind of like how Sledgehammer Games, once again tied back to Call of Duty, started when they were supporting Infinity Ward on Modern Warfare 3. Doesn't sound like they're doing anything on their own. They're just lending. They're
probably not going to make anything. They could be running patches or just making additional content and stuff like that.
Handling animations or working with some physics engine they're all experts on. This doesn't sound like they're making new IP. The other team, however, in Berlin is working closely with Blue Byte. Now, Blue Byte are the guys who made the Anno series and the Settlers, both of which are real-time strategies on PC, more focused on the civilization side as opposed to Command & Conquer. They have teams in both Dusseldorf and Mainz, and they're going to be working on an unannounced AAA project, and that will probably be another strategy game of some type, given the fact that they're working with Blue Byte.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what they come out with.
Yeah, What I would love to then do is I would love to see some Ubisoft money doing something like Crusader Kings.
Oh, damn. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Ooh, Crusader Kings.
No word on what either two of these new studios are going to be doing, but it sounds like Ubisoft is confident enough in their bottom line to be expanding out, which is awesome. Love or hate Ubisoft, the creation of jobs, you get more people working on different games, you have more choice out there. It's up to you still to buy it if you want to or not.
As long as the game works when it comes out, I'll be happy.
Yeah, same here.
But track record shows, at least on my computer, it probably won't. We'll see.
Yeah, speaking of games coming out, we do have two very similar titles released around the same time. This is kind of like the Deep Impact and Armageddon fiasco of a couple years ago, back when
actually
I will
slightly disagree with that.
Okay.
Because of these two games that are very similar, asymmetrical horror games, I guess that's just where I'm going to leave it. One of them was like announced, had a Kickstarter, really looked like it was going to fail, and the other one just showed up and totally beat him to the punch, for sure.
Those
and
two games,
think has probably a way larger following right now.
Yeah, one of those two games, and the one with the larger following currently is, of course, Dead by Daylight. And the news is that it is coming to consoles.
Hell yes. If you've not played Dead by Daylight, you should probably play Dead by Daylight.
It's solid.
If you're at all into horror games, if you like asymmetrical multiplayer, you can either play as a crazy serial murderer that chases after people, or you play as a person who's running away from a crazy serial murderer. Games are super fun, really atmospheric, really spooky, and actually hilarious to play with a bunch of friends.
And that's where I think a lot of Dead by Daylight's success comes from. From the Starbreeze Studios webpage here, quote, publisher of 4v1 asymmetrical horror game Dead by Daylight to put depth, as I suddenly am unable to read. Let me try that again. They are going to be publishing the 4 versus 1 asymmetrical horror game Dead by Daylight to physical and digital retail formats of PlayStation 4 and Xbox One on June 20th, 2017 for the cost of $30. Important to note, both physical and digital, so it's rare to see a game like this physical copy these days. I think a lot of the success of this game is on the Twitch side of things, however, and the streaming side of things. I get the feeling this is one of those games that a lot of people like to watch being played as opposed to actually playing it. So how well it's going to do on consoles is, we'll see.
I'm pretty sure they both have the option to share video. It can still happen.
They can. However, streaming, from what I can tell, unless I'm horribly wrong, and I don't think I am, is still very much a PC thing. The streaming options found native on both the Xbox and PlayStation 4 leave much to be desired, meaning you have to go through a capture card, meaning you already have a PC set up, meaning why would you not be playing it on PC to begin with?
That's fair. Anyway, I really enjoyed Dead by Daylight. I think that game is tons of fun. I think $30 is a fairly reasonable price considering how much they've added to it. As long as it doesn't come out like at the base level the game originally hit PC with. If it comes out with everything it has now, I think it's pretty good. Not bad.
I mean, I like the idea of it. It's a nifty idea, and it's an idea that's also been copied to a degree in the fact that there's also Friday the 13th, the game coming out. And the news here is that
I heard of first. And had a Kickstarter first.
See, I didn't know that you heard that first. I heard Dead by Daylight first, and then I heard of Friday the 13th.
Mm-hmm. That's why I thought it was funny, because I heard of Friday the 13th long before I heard of Dead by Daylight, and then Dead by Daylight showed up while Friday the 13th was still looking for money.
Yeah, I never knew that. I thought Dead by Daylight was first. But either way, they were very close together. The important takeaway from this bit of news, however, is that Friday the 13th actually has a release date finally. Gun Media and Ilphonic are happen to announce that Friday the 13th, the game will launch on May 26, 2017 for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and Steam. All of them, all consoles, or those two consoles and computers simultaneously. No word on anything else. Because I didn't bother to look it up. I don't know much about Friday the 13th. Do you know anything about the Friday the 13th game?
The Friday the 13th game is, again, an asymmetrical horror game where someone is going to play as, the title character and chase around.
You're going to play Friday the 13th?
Yes. Sorry. Whatever. You know what I'm talking about.
Hey, I fuck up nonstop on this show. I have to hammer you when you do it every now.
That's fair. You play as a famous bad guy who was featured in the film Friday the 13th.
Yeah, Chucky.
Yes. You play as Bride of Chucky, and you chase around a bunch of camp counselors. That's what's happening.
Do you happen to know if this is going to be crossplay between those systems? I doubt it.
I have no idea. Honestly, when their Kickstarter didn't go as well as they hoped, I kind of lost my attention span on Friday the 13th, and then it showed up because they managed to get funding.
Yeah.
So I'm curious to see how it plays. From the original trailers, I thought this game looked really awesome, but I already own Dead by Daylight, and I've had a bunch of hours in that. So it'll be pretty hard to tear me away at this point because they're just so late to the party.
Yeah, that's the problem right there, right? Dead by Daylight already has a pretty devoted fan base to it. Like I said, it's one of those games that I feel people like watching more than actually playing. Don't quote me on that. That's just anecdotal.
But
scene.
You also have to think of this. How many asymmetrical multiplayer games can you think of?
Left 4 Dead 1, Left 4 Dead 2, Evolve, Payday, Payday 2, Warhammer, Vermintide, Space Hulk. I don't know, I feel like I did pretty good just naming those ones off. But you're right, it is a short list. I'm kind of being an ass.
It is a short list, and if you're really into asymmetrical multiplayer, hey, look, it's another game for you to play. It's different. New unlocks, new characters, new levels.
The video they put up on their Twitch account, which wouldn't load when I brought it up, the game looks very smooth. Character models also look kind of dated. They look very plastic, so something to be concerned about if you're looking for super hyper realistic graphics on it. But honestly, I don't care about that in a game that's fun.
Yeah.
If this is going to be fun, that remains to be seen. But I guess we will find out come May 26, 2017. That wraps things up for the news. I know we had a couple game announcement stuff coming down farther down the road. But David, if I want to play something this week, what would I play?
This week? Well, let's talk about the one that I think me and you are probably the most excited for that's coming out this week. A game that's continuing a franchise that we haven't seen a game for in quite a long time, but I guarantee the opening cinematic is one of the coolest fucking things we'll ever see. I'm talking about the new Dawn of War, Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3, hitting PC. I've watched the original teaser trailer probably 8 million times because I just can't wait to run around with some tightening nonsense and murder people. Throwback RTS style game. Now this looks like it's going to play a lot more like Dawn of War, the original, in that there's base building and all this stuff. With, I think there's still some amount of heroes, but it's not the kind of weird narrative hero-based shooter that Dawn of War 2 was.
I'm glad you brought that up because you can take a look at my preview for GameCritics.com of the Warhammer 40k Dawn of War 3 closed beta that happened a couple weeks ago. It does play very similar to Dawn of War 1, like you mentioned, which lets you can deploy bases, base buildings back. That's awesome. However, there are heavy MOBA influences in the multiplayer maps that I played. The only map style that was up and running was more or less looked like a MOBA map with 3 clear lanes and some somewhat crossover ability between them. They had it set up to where you had to take out certain objectives before you can get to the ones behind them. Think like League of Legends or Heroes of the Storm. We have to take out the forts before you get to the Nexus. And there is a heavy, heavy focus on heroes. So much so, in fact, that by the time you get the 10-point costed hero drops down, the only thing that's really stopping it is another 10-point hero, and it can make the game horribly imbalanced. I am super fucking concerned about the MOBA overtones on the multiplayer scene when it comes to Dawn of War 3 here. That said, I don't play the Dawn of War games for multiplayer. I play them for the single player.
I just like new RTS games. New RTS is a good thing.
It's a dead.
Never a bad thing.
It is a dead genre. Let's just be honest here. As far as RTS goes, it is a dead genre. So I'm happy.
Hey,
to see
it's a genre on life support.
Yeah,
RTS never die.
Not even StarCraft 2 did nearly as good as Blizzard thought.
Blizzard hoped. That's what he meant to say.
Anyways, what else is coming out?
Talk about a game that did better than people thought it would. I'm talking about the original Outlast and the fact that its sequel, Outlast 2, is hitting this week for PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Outlast being I think that this point kind of famous horror game that just broke out to be an actual survival horror style game. Super scary. Tons of people watching it on Twitch all the time. Again, this is a good streaming game if you're into that kind of thing. Make you jump out of your chair. Super spooky. Look, watch out, little piggy. Whatever.
Yeah, one hit kill, usually no weapons in these games. I don't know about Outlast 2, I haven't had a chance to play it yet. Reviews all over the place for this one. Some people love it, some people hate it. It's apparently a very decisive game.
Depends on who you are.
Decisive's not the right word.
Decisive's good enough. That's why I'm moving on to
no.
Sniper Ghost Warrior 3, because fuck Steven. Sniper Ghost Warrior 3 is the sequel to Sniper Ghost Warriors 1 and 2. It's hitting PC, PS4, and Xbox One. This is the game they're hoping to bring this franchise a bit more mainstream. Sniper Ghost Warrior, now bear with me, because while I'm going to use these games as an example of what this game plays like, it does not necessarily reflect the quality of the game. But take the formula of Sniper Elite, mix it with some Assassin's Creed style sneaking, and throw in a little bit of Call of Duty run and gun. That's the base formula that they're going for. Now, how well they execute it, that is up to you, really.
I played a couple of them. I've never been too impressed with the series myself. If you're looking for a Sniper series...
This one does look like a more solid effort.
Yeah. I would still say go with Sniper Elite if you're looking for that kind of a game.
Well, it's up to you. But if you just absolutely love sniping and military style shooting, because this game is pretty...
Oh, yeah, I sure love killing.
Yeah, there I go, killing again. And speaking of, let's go to Siberia, where the sequel to Siberia 2 is finally out. Dude, when did Siberia 2 come out? Seriously.
Long time ago. Long time ago. I believe it was on the it was old enough to be on the original Xbox, if I recall.
Yeah, it was. It was on PS3. Now Siberia 3 is happening.
Yeah.
So
Siberia,
it's an adventure game.
Thank you.
It's actually going to hit... I think this one comes out on Nintendo Switch also.
I think it's slated to it. I don't think it comes out for it this week, though.
But it's a third-person, very puzzle-heavy adventure-style game. Where you're running around in a lot of really pretty-looking snowy areas.
It's like The Longest Journey or any of the Telltale stuff, but with actual puzzles.
Yeah. I was getting some like Firewatch vibes from the trailer and stuff too. So
yeah, I mean, if you're a fan of the adventure games, like I said, I always go back to The Longest Journey because that's one of the most famous ones. But think about all the classic LucasArts stuffs like Grim Fandango or Full Throttle. If you're a fan of that kind of game, take a look at Siberia.
Siberia 2 had great reviews, so I'm curious to see how Siberia 3 does. Also coming out this week, another game being released by Nice America, Nippon Ichi Software, where basically they localize Japanese games. Psycho Pass Mandatory Happiness. And this is a visual novel-style detective game. And from what I've seen of it, I've actually not seen a lot of gameplay. I've mostly just seen the story cinematic trailers because it's...
Then you've seen the gameplay.
Yeah, that's how this game is portrayed.
It's a visual novel.
Yeah, it's a visual novel. It's meant to be very thrilling and dramatic and crazy shit's going on. It's got that super crazy upbeat soundtrack that just shows up out of nowhere. And I guarantee the game turns super fucking dark at some point.
Probably. Based off the anime, I know nothing about it. I just know it's coming out this week.
Also, a game I am pretty much having to buy for my girlfriend comes out this week, and that is What Remains of Edith Finch.
Once again, another game in the vein of Firewatch.
Yes, this is another big adventure game. This one's actually in the Unreal Engine. This is hitting PS4 and PC.
Yes.
This game looks pretty cool. What I know of it, you can play as a bird.
I hear that it is only about 2 to 4 hours long. So just keep that in mind if you're playing it. I'm trying to remember who makes it. I'm trying to look this up right here. Giant Sparrow. Giant Sparrow are the guys who did, what else did they do? Unfinished Swan? No, yes, no?
Yes,
yeah, Unfinished Swan. That's what it was.
Yes, you're correct.
So if you like the Unfinished Swan, this is going to be a more mature story from them, from what I'm hearing. So just keep that in mind if you pick it up. But if you like that style of game or like stuff like Firewatch, I would say if you liked Firewatch or Gone Home, this is right up your alley. You might hear the term walking simulator thrown around. This seems to fit perfectly in that category.
That's fair. And I think that'll about round up the new releases for this week. So if you're looking for something new to play, you can look there. Or you can always just look at the amazing back catalog that we have staring at us from all of last year.
It's still a big fucking week. David.
And it has been a big week for the last 4 months.
Yeah.
Let's not get around.
Sure, we have all this new shit that we can play, right?
Yep.
But let's spend the next few minutes talking about all the old shit we want to play. This week's topic of the week. What would your 30 games be for the Super Nintendo Classic, if in fact it actually exists? We have both made 2 lists ourselves. This is where, if you're watching us live, please feel free to throw in your suggestions in the chat, and we will definitely address them. But as we know, the original Nintendo Classic came with 30 great fucking games from multiple publishers and licensing deals you would not actually expect ever to see in one collection. So you can assume that the SNES Classic will do the same thing. Yeah.
Pick anything that released on the Super Nintendo, or if you're feeling risky, the Super Famicom.
Yep. 30... 30. Now, I think, if I recall correctly, the Famicom Classic actually had different games of a NES Classic when they released those because of what was released over. So that would be, I'd be very curious to see what these two, what the Super Famicom and the Super Nintendo lists look like when this finally comes out, to see how much crossover there was. David, why don't you go ahead and lead us off? Give us your 30 titles, and I will tell you if there's any crossover or not between your list and mine. I get the feeling we're probably going to have 20
I'm
of the same.
assuming there will be. There should be a lot of games we have in common, but the thing I'm curious for really is the games we don't have in common. Yeah. And then, of course, when we're done with this, we will, post the list up on the YouTube channel and all that other fun stuff. But I'm going to get right into it. Now, my very, very first one, because after I made my list, I sorted it and started throwing out games that I didn't want and made games fight to the death. My very, very first pick is for an RPG, but I couldn't choose between these 2 games. One of them I really, really liked. The other one I know is super highly rated and raved about by everybody. I'd never played it back in the day. So,
okay,
you could be the deciding vote here. But this first choice is between Breath of Fire 2 and Ys 3. And this is the only title that I'm not sure of. My very first game. If it's up to me, Ys is going on the system.
Then
if
put
it's
it
up
in
to
put
a lot of people that aren't me, it'd probably be Breath of Fire.
This is your list.
So that's how we're going to start it. We'll start with Ys. Okay. Now I'm going to run down. We're going to go through Chrono Trigger.
Okay.
Obviously. Contra 3. Donkey Kong Country 2, because it's better than the first one. I don't care what anyone says. E.V.O. If you didn't play Evo,
Search for
now
Eden.
is your fucking chance.
Or the quest for Eden. That game is fucking amazing.
Amazing. Yes, thank you. Earthbound.
Okay.
Obviously, the Super Famicom one would probably have Earthbound 2. The most important racing game of my youth, F-Zero.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 6. We can actually title it properly. It doesn't have to be 3 this time. To get some side-scrolling in there, we need Final Fight number 2.
Okay.
I need Gradius 3.
Okay.
Also, if you don't know what these are, you can Google them when we post our list later. My next one is going to be Illusion of Gaia, because that game's amazing.
Okay.
Killer Instinct Black Cartridge.
Okay.
Mega Man X.
Okay.
NBA Jam, probably TE over the original.
Okay.
You gotta have an NBA Jam on there. A game that I know not a lot of people played, but it has to be on there because it's like $2,500 if you want to find a copy nowadays. Ogre Battle.
Named after a Queen song, by the way.
Yeah. Secret of Mana has to be on there.
You know for a fact how that's named after a Queen song, Ogre Battle? Because one of the Ogre Battle games is subtitled March of the Black Queen. Both Queen songs.
Excellent. All right. So I'm going to have Star Fox. Everyone's got to have Star Fox.
Right.
Now we're going to get into a list of the best games, probably, because these are all games that have Super in the title.
Okay.
So I'm just going to run them down really quick. Super Castlevania 4. Okay. Super Ghouls and Ghosts. Okay. Super Mario Kart. Super Mario RPG. Super Mario World. Super Metroid. Super Punch-Out. And finally, Super Street Fighter 2.
All right. Thank you for putting those up in order because it let me mark them off real quick. I share 1, 2, 3.
I'm not done. I have 5 more games actually. I just had to get through the supers in a
We share 20 in total.
So far. I also have Turtles in Time.
Okay. Your remaining ones aren't on my list because I ended on a Super Street Fighter 2. Spoilers.
Don't care. Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3.
Okay.
The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
You went out of order.
I don't care. Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Forgot about that fucking game.
And the game I left specifically last, this isn't alphabetical anymore, but the most important game and one of my favorite games growing up, the game that influenced the twin stick shooter genre, at least in my eyes, Smash TV.
Fair enough. We share
Smash TV is not
21.
on there. I ain't buying it.
We share 21 games between the two of us. So in my opinion, that means those 21 games must be included on this console, because we didn't like collaborate on this list. We didn't pull our resources together.
Separate lists.
And we went from there. I did have at one time Mortal Kombat on my list, but I took it off. I'm glad you put Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 on there. I think Super Street Fighter 2 encompasses the fighting game genre, but my list is...
I didn't want one.
Well, yeah.
I wanted a lot of everything.
My list is as follows: ActRaiser, Breath of Fire 2, Chrono Trigger, Contra 3, Cybernator, another great Konami 2D shooter, Donkey Kong Country 1, Donkey Kong Country 2, Earthbound, F-Zero, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy 3, known as 4 and 6 now, Final Fight 1, as opposed to your Final Fight 2. Gradius 3, Illusion of Gaia, Zelda Link to the Past. I mean, so far, pretty close. Madden 94. Do you know why I put Madden 94 on there?
Isn't that the first Madden?
No, there was 2 Maddens before there, but they were called John Madden Football in 92 and 93. Madden 94 was the first time EA started to call their games Madden year, a tradition that has gone on up until today. It's also the first, as far as I can tell, EA game that had that chiptune EA. It's in the game. Madden 94 is really fucking important historically for video games. And that's why I feel it should be on here. Mega Man X, Mega Man X2, NBA Jam, Pilot Wings. I'm very upset you didn't have that on there.
No joke. It was on my list for the longest time. It was literally on my list until earlier today when I'm like, you know what? While I understand that Pilot Wings is a shoo-in and will absolutely be on the console, everything on my list I would rather have than Pilot Wings.
Sam Grizzle in chat is asking, why did Madden Football give up on PC in 2008, never to come back? The only thing I can think of is because
it wasn't selling as well.
It wasn't selling all that well compared to their console ports, and they probably looked at it and went, you know what? It is way too much time and money to create a port for PC when it sells just fine on PlayStation and Xbox. Also, keep in mind, 2008 was around the time that they were really hammering internet piracy and going, oh, fucking people are pirating our shit and no one's buying our stuff and the used game market's killing us, so we're going to create shit like the online pass and everything like that. FIFA still ports to PC. That I don't know if it's the case or not.
FIFA sells more than any other game you can think of.
Yeah, that's true.
It just fucking does. Because while we might not buy it a bunch in the States, FIFA is huge across the pond.
Absolutely.
Europe buys FIFA games. Europe does not buy Madden games. That's why Madden's not on PC and FIFA is. It's just numbers. They're trying to get sales.
Yeah. A good rule of thumb is if something is not on a console anymore or a PC, a platform anymore, it's because it's not worth it for them to make it on there. Because make no mistake, if it was worth for them to have that game on PC, they would have that fucking game on PC. More than likely, that's the case. Rounding out my list after Pilot Wings, Secret of Mana, Secret of Evermore, Star Fox, Super Castlevania 4, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario World, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, Super Metroid, Super Punch-Out, and Super Street Fighter 2. Like I said, David, we share 21 games between the two of us. I would say those 21 are mandatory to have because we came up to that same conclusion without looking over each other's shoulders. It's just what we created. To me, that means those are no-brainers. Whether or not they'll be able to get the license to some of this stuff, that remains to be seen.
Yeah, that's totally fair. I don't know why I didn't think to put Yoshi's Island on it. That's huge.
Yoshi's Island came out during the latter days of the Super Nintendo's life, I believe.
That's exactly why it should be on there. Yoshi's Island is probably one of the more beautiful Super Nintendo games.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I feel that list that I have you got sports games, fighting games, racing games, but it's RPG heavy, admittedly. Got a couple 2D
It's gotta be.
platformers.
So is the Super Nintendo.
Yeah. But I feel that encompasses a great list of for an SNES Classic. The outlier on that list, in my opinion, is ActRaiser. That's more of a hopeful dream than it is a reality, but we'll see how that shakes out. Once again,
I ripped that off for Zombies Ate My Neighbors.
Fair enough. Once again, this is just our wish list if the Super Nintendo Classic does get released this year, like the rumor says it would be. What do you think? Put down comments, likes, subscribes down below. Put down your own list. If we get enough responses, we'll read them on the beginning of next show. And that's
Here's the thing, though, right? With the Super Nintendo list, is we came up with 30 games, and I'm sure you had to cut some fat, and I also had to cut some fat for my list.
Oddly enough, I only had to cut one game.
In my opinion, I could easily get this game to 40, or get this list to 40 games, 50 games, 60. I feel like it's very doable. The catalog and the library that the Super Nintendo has is some of the greatest games.
Yeah.
And I know I have a good helping of nostalgia, but that's also what Nintendo's about to sell to you. So yeah. I think I'm the right market.
Straight up, when it came to me, I did not have that crisis to narrow down. I had 31 on my final list, and I went, this makes sense. This list makes sense to me. I can't see anything else being appropriate for this list. Now, was there stuff that I love better? Hell yeah, I would easily dump Madden to make room for Soul Blazer, for example. But we're talking a marketable system that's designed to represent the best of what Super Nintendo had to offer, and I feel that those 30 games are obvious. So obvious, in fact,
I have like 17 games that didn't make the list.
Yeah, so obvious, in fact, though, that 2/3 of our lists were identical without any coordination between us.
Yeah. Yeah, we're both assholes, and neither of us put Super Star Wars on there.
Yeah, well, hey, I mean, I'm going to drop some cold hard truth. Super Star Wars, not nearly as good as you remember it.
It's not as good as Turtles in Time, which is why Turtles in Time beat it.
Fair enough. I think that wraps things up for today. We are ending a little bit early. This has been GamePoints episode 86. Once again, we do stream every Monday here at Twitch TV/GamePoints at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you happen to join us live, feel free to join and participate in the chat. We appreciate everyone that joined today. Sam Grizzle, Mally Monk, all of you other guys. I always appreciate it when you guys watch. If you can't watch us live, please go to our YouTube page. Just type in GamePoints, one word. We should pop right up. Like, comment, subscribe, and do all that good stuff there as well. You can follow the show.
Leave us your Super Nintendo list.
Yeah, leave us your Super Nintendo list on any of those. You can follow the show on Twitter at GamePoints PC, or you can follow us individually. I am your host, Dave Brown at Capitalist Pig 21. Over there is David Smith at _Satori. This has been GamePoints episode 86, and we will see you next Monday. But until then, we are out of here.